always believed that the ideal place for a romance series is nearby the coast in a small town. There's just something very charming about that setting, whether it's Ghibli doing it or some other random company. Today, we have a game that lives on that idea of a romance at a coast. An indie visual novel called Always the Same Blue Sky. Always the Same Blue Sky is a romantic visual novel set nearby the ocean in an unnamed small town. I find the easiest way to describe this plot is that it's a poor man's planetarium with an interesting setting. It's a short kinetic novel with the writing best described as bad. It's rushed yet bloated at the same time, and it manages to feel really generic. What I mean by this is that there's a lot of random rabble that doesn't help the experience, but the pacing of the game is way too fast to develop any meaningful plot. My biggest issue with the writing is that things happen because they happen. There's no rhyme or reason for anything. There's no real plot. It's just a bunch of conversations of nonsense or messages just stitched together. The characters aren't even really worth mentioning. The relationship between the protagonist and the heroine Kira is awkward because they don't really have any build-up, and it feels like the only reason they like each other is because the writer wanted it to be that way. The writing would have been much better if the game did a better job in connecting the plot, actually showing the world, characters, plot, etc. instead of throwing in random scenarios. Another con is the length. This game is very short. Very short. You can finish this in about 10 to 20 minutes. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind short VNs. I loved the heck out of Planetarian, but that had the charm, great world building, interesting characters, etc. In Always the Same Blue Sky, the writing is pretty meh, and there's so much they could have done to improve it. Always the Same Blue Sky is a short kinetic novel. This means that there's no gameplay and nothing to talk about here. It's literally just reading. It works, but I'd rather see decisions. One thing to note is it's also available on Android, and that's a pretty nice experience. But other than that, there's really nothing to mention here. I don't really know what to think about the visuals in this game. It's watercolored nicety and a pretty high resolution, but the whole game looks pretty generic. There's something that really bothers me about this game visuals. I guess it's just not my taste. The art style is nice, but it's not my cup of tea. I didn't like the character art. But my biggest gripe about all of the visuals in this game is that I felt like it needed a lot more art, and it could have just been improved in general. The game runs on the RenP visual novel engine, and I'm not too keen on how that engine looks in general, but in this game the UI is scaled pretty horribly as the text box, the text, and any of the UI elements felt too small no matter what device I was playing this on. Always the Same Blue Sky does things right, but other things horribly wrong when it comes to their visuals. The music is pretty charming and calming. It's charming, but it suffers through the same problems that plagues the whole game. There's not enough of it, and it doesn't try to stand out, thus it does not stand out. Grant Wild, if you are reading this or watching this, I'm very happy that you gave me a review copy and you check out my stuff. It's been an interesting experience to have a review copy, and I thank you for it. That won't sway my opinion of this game though, as it's not very good. It's not the worst I've played, but it comes pretty close to it. I cannot recommend this game to anybody at the price it currently sits at, and I wouldn't recommend this game even if it was free. This game is bad, and I'm hoping it'll be better next time.